That was a pretty brave presentation you just made. You were making some very bold suggestions for rethinking the sales process and sort of reversing the polarity of the sales process and the gathering of information coming from, you want the information to flow from the customer to you rather than the other way around. Can you talk a little bit more about why that's important?
I think it's most important is that customers have unlimited access today to information, and by just doing their homework they know so much information up front, and so for you to make a sales call on them, they really don't need more information about you. If they really are a high value customer, they probably will value you having superior knowledge of their business, and that is achieved through the quality of your questions to really find out, do they have problems? What are their problems costing them? Do they have a compelling reason to change? Do they have the budget that's worthy of trying to fix this problem? Do they have the ability to sell it internally to get the decision to spend the money to get rid of the problem? And of course, is the timing right?
That really positions the salesperson sort of as an agnostic consultant.
Absolutely.
Right.
So almost the salesperson sells as if they don't have a vested interest in the outcome. They sell as if they're getting a fee just to help the customer have better understanding of their problems and wrap their hands around their situation. So if the salesperson had that freedom of not believing that they had to make the sale, they'd be far more willing to ask the tough, hard questions and ask questions where the customer has more to gain than they have to gain from hearing the answers.
And you're saying it's very difficult for salespeople to hear the truth. You were using the a few good men idea of,
Right.
You can't handle the truth, right?
Right. Yeah, so go ahead.
So, the other quote that you used was the Clash song, should I stay or should I go? And that if you have a solid pipeline, you're more inclined to have the courage to walk away from a poor prospect, right?
Right. And salespeople, if they had that mentality and were able to conquer neediness as a foul-smelling cologne, the more you need the sale, the less likely you will make the sale. If they had that strength of mentality, again, they would be willing to accept no's, seek out a no. They would be far willing to ask tough questions that really, in their heart of hearts, in their gut, they believe is negative information anyway, but they're not willing to face up to that truth. If they had that constitution, they would be far more willing to ask the tough, hard questions and really get to the truth as does the customer have a compelling reason to change.
But you also argue that salespeople want to close, want to sell, don't want to give up, and so that's a real cultural shift for salespeople, right?
Absolutely. I think I'm like most people. We've all been taught a good salesperson never gives up. Well, actually, that really is no longer effective, because in the good old days there was some truth to that. Good salesperson never gives up, because you had arguably many ways to get hold of the customer where they couldn't hide from you as easily. Today, that's not the case. You aren't allowed often to even get into a customer's parking lot. You can't get through voicemail. You can't get a receptionist to answer. So they can easily hide from you legitimately and put you in a position where that pure persistence, which is not a bad trait to have, is really wasted. And so what I try to get salespeople to do is have that same persistence, that same conviction, but channel it differently, the persistence to get to the truth, right. The persistence to find their problems.
And I think one of the other things you argued was that it's more likely that a client who's more interested in you than giving you information is a more valuable client, right? And that it's actually a better prospect, right?
Right, and that's pretty easy to find out early on. And again, high value customers care more about what you know about them, and low value customers care predominantly about what they can learn about you. And that's pretty easy to find out early on, is their willingness to share information and their willingness to share sensitive, vulnerable parts of their business, which is their problems.
But that requires a cultural shift both on the customer's part and on the salesperson's. I mean, this is very ingrained on both sides, right?
It is, but the reality is you're not going to have the ability to make a cultural shift with the customer as easily as you will be to making a cultural shift with customers as to how you change your own strategies and tactics. So once you start to sell that way, you can start to find more customers who fit that profile of people who are looking for long-term relationships in a partnership.
So do you think you sold the audience today?
I think I sold it just like you said. A certain percentage, maybe 30%, didn't see any value in it. Another 60% saw it as value, as yes, they'd like to do it, and maybe the balance of 10% were really excited and gained a lot.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, and enjoy Hawaii.
Okay, thank you.